So in our last video we found out the head was cracked. Today we're going to find out the true extent of the damage. Now I've been assuming the block was okay, but maybe I've just convinced myself of that since a new engine would cost me upwards of £3,000. But after what I found out later in this video, I'm not sure I've been so lucky. But first let's dive in and start by stripping the head. Here I am using a magnet to remove all 16 tappets. Even though the machine shop said they can't repair the head due to the cracks by the spark plug holes, I still want to remove all the internals as I may need to transfer them to a new head. Also I want to check if the head is warped, as this may give us an indication on how hot the rest of the engine got. With the tappets removed, we now have access to the retainers on the valve springs, and I'm using this special tool to compress them. Once compressed, we can then use a small pick, or in my case a magnetic screwdriver, to remove the keepers holding everything in place. Then when we release the pressure, the retainer and spring come out through the top, and we can push the valve through the bottom. I then bag and label which valve it came out of, not forgetting about the tappet we removed earlier, and then I repeat this process for each valve. Now that all the valves are removed, I'm going to flip the head over so we can have a closer inspection of any damage. I want to preface this by saying I have no idea what I'm looking for, so if you do see anything, let me know in the comments. I didn't notice anything major in cylinder 1. Cylinder 2 we have the crack we saw in the last video, and you can see it goes into the threads. In cylinder 3 there's also another crack in a similar location, and cylinder 4 looked okay. Now I'm joining you at night with a machined straight edge. The reason I waited until it's dark is because I wanted to test for warping, and I'm using a torch to shine a light underneath the straight edge. If the light passes through, it indicates the head isn't flat. I haven't bothered cleaning the head since I already know I won't be using it, but I'm just curious to see how badly, if at all, it's warped. As you can see, I tried checking multiple angles and didn't notice anything significant. Just the occasional slight glimmer, which could be due to not cleaning it first, or light seeping around an existing hole in the head. Now let's move on to the engine block. First things first, we need to give it a good clean. I'll start by removing any loose particles with a hoover. Then I'm using some gasket cleaner on a toothbrush to lightly clean the block. This helps get rid of any leftover gasket material without damaging the surface. I then follow that up with a scraper and a plastic razor blade, carefully going around the area. I repeated this process many times over for the next few hours. Now to clean the pistons. I upgraded to an Oral-B toothbrush and used a little bit of WD-40. I didn't bother making them perfect, I just removed most of the excess carbon. To clean pistons 2 and 3 I needed to turn over the engine. So I removed the tool locking the flywheel and the timing pin we installed in the last video. Then after reinstalling the crank pulley bolt, I can turn the engine over. Now I can clean the middle 2 pistons since they're at the top of their stroke. Each time I've turned the engine over, I've lined the walls with some WD-40 and engine assembly lube. And here's how the block looks the next day in the daylight. I repeated the same process as before, using a straight edge and a light to ensure the block is perfectly flat with no signs of warping. Everything checked out, but just to be safe, off camera the next day I bought a feeler gauge and went round one last time just to confirm the block is flat. Before I went ahead and bought a new cylinder head, as a precaution I just wanted to make sure the oil filter was free of any metal shavings or debris. So like a genius I decided to saw it open, and then I realised loads of metal shavings were getting into the filter. I just gave up halfway through because I knew the test was going to be inconclusive. I was happy with the condition of the block, right up until my mate, who knows more about this stuff than me, noticed some movement in the pistons at the top of the stroke. I spent days on forums and calling people, getting mixed answers on whether or not this would be an issue. I decided to risk it. I'm going to buy a new head and see what happens. So yeah, make sure you stick around to join me on this journey of slapping a cylinder head on a sketchy block. Probably watch me throw my money away. Anyway, like, comment and subscribe. Check out the previous videos if you haven't seen them already, and I'll catch you in the next one.